everybody, it's Anna. Let me know if you can hear me because I know we've had some issues with the volume before. I almost missed the new moon. I was actually sitting on my couch thinking, "Oh, what if I did?" I was thinking what I might if I might go live today for something else, and then I thought, the new moon's coming up soon, and I looked it up and I was like, "Oh, it's today." So I scheduled this about an hour ago. So hopefully some of you will be able to come and join in and also let me know how my volume is. I don't know how everything works with tech. So anyway, yeah, I'm going to keep chatting until someone tells me they can't hear me. And then I maybe have to start over. Hi, Patty. Hi, Corey. Can you guys hear me? Volume is good. Thank you, Patty. Thank you. Okay, so this is the new moon. We're catching it in time. Thank you, Corey. She can hear it too. We're catching it in time. So we are getting ready for the crow moon. The full moon that's coming up is the crow moon. So I did a little research on the crow moon, not a whole lot because I almost forgot to do this entirely, right? Um, so so the crow moon, of course, is like it's signaling that winter is over, at least in the northern hemisphere, right? Winter is over and the crows are cawing again. The idea that we're going to start hearing crows cawing. Now, I will tell you, I'm in Alabama in the US, and the crows have been cawing the whole time. All through winter, the crows are cawing. But I understand that's the symbolism, is that we're leaving winter behind and we're starting something new. So the invitation of the crow moon, I understand, is about is stepping into the new beginning. Spring is starting and we're going to step into that. So it's interesting because the snow moon is what we finished the snow moon. And we talked about the snow moon was sort of the stirrings of spring. Like we're kind of waking ourselves up, kind of stretching our bones and getting ready. And now it's like, okay, what we were getting ready for is here. It's time to start doing stuff, right? So I looked up crows, and I know I've read about crows before. They have a lot of spiritual meaning. Well, all animals do. But the spiritual meaning of crows is they're connected to mystery, to intuition, to cleverness, to problem solving, right? So there's this idea they're mystery and problem solving. And which means mystery, I often connect to intuition. Problem solving, I connect to the mind, right? So the crows represent kind of the mastery of the intuition and mind working together, which has come up a few times it comes up in the tarot story all the time, and also in some of the live streams. The idea of we're trying to create this partnership between the mind and the intuition that is functional. So intuition is where interesting new things come into the world, new magic comes into the world, right? But it doesn't affect the world until the mind figures out how to translate it, which is why the mind needs to be a scribe or the hands, the feet, the problem solver for the intuition, because the intuition is almost perfect, like divine, not divine energy. Well, it's divine, but spirit energy, right? So it doesn't really know how to engage the physicality of the world, but the mind is of the world, the physical world. So the mind has been trained for a while how to walk, how to drive, how to pay bills, how to function, and also be with other physical beings, right? In the physical world. So there's that idea they have to work together for us to achieve true mastery. And so much of the spiritual journey is managing that relationship. So I thought about, if we're getting ready, like here we're walking into spring now. So now it's time to start moving. Oh, another thing about crows, which I think is interesting, is unexpected, the mystery and the unexpected. The idea that things aren't going to go the way we expect them to go, but the crow is good at problem solving, right? So kind of like already agreeing that things aren't going to happen the way we want them to happen or the way we expect them to happen. But happily, the mind and intuition are working together. They will figure it out. There is a path forward, or we'll make a path forward. And so the mind is getting supported and getting more and more confident that things don't have to go its way. In fact, often, almost never in my case, does anything ever go my way the way my mind expects it to. So that is not something to fight or be in resistance around. That's something to kind of engage, because it gives you a chance to find your mastery, right? So I was thinking about, I was watching a documentary last night, which I might get into it, I might not, depending on how our conversation goes right now. But I was thinking about like how the tools of healing are just tools, which means they can be tools that support us or tools that kind of devastate us, because tools are nothing. Tools are just tools. The effect that tools make depends on who is wielding them, right? The Bible, I can speak from experience. The Bible can be a tool for devastation or a tool for healing. The tools that I use can be tools for healing or for devastation, because it all comes down to who is wielding the tools and where things go wrong, in my opinion, with especially healers and like gurus. Okay. Healers and gurus is that they often use tools that are very similar to tools I would use. So of course I'm watching it going, oh my gosh, that I do something that's like that, or I use that tool, or I use that language, right? And so my mind gets very interested, because it's like, oh, let's pay attention to this, right? But what happens is that that tool is no longer in the hands of the intuition. Okay, the intuition knows how to use that tool, and the intuition's not interested. Doesn't have an agenda, really. It doesn't have an agenda. Oh, I want money. I want power. I want wealth. I want prestige. The intuition doesn't care about any of that stuff. The intuition cares about evoking magic the way it is built to evoke magic. And it will do that regardless, right? It's when that tool that the intuition knows how to use gets in the hands of the mind, who is now using it to an agenda, that we have problems. Because the mind watches the intuition use the tool, or maybe the mind doesn't even watch it. It depends on who you're talking about, right? The tool can be effective, and you can use a particle of truth, but if you're using the tool for another agenda, it becomes devastating. And so I was thinking about, my mind was not struggling with this, but processing this like since last night. And I was in church this morning, kind of not listening to my husband, because I don't always listen to his sermons. but it occurred to me the story of the Sorcerer's Apprentice, which I think I've actually read the real story, but what comes to my mind is the Disney version of the Sorcerer's Apprentice. So in my mind, the apprentice is Mickey Mouse. So in the Sorcerer's Apprentice, the sorcerer, is the magician. He's the one who knows how to flow through energy, knows how to call it back, knows how to really work with the magic, right? And I don't really know what the sorcerer does with his magic, because it doesn't really tell us, like, is he making things better in the world? I'm just going to say he's a master, so he's using it in whatever way he uses it. But the apprentice's job in the Mickey Mouse version, the sorcerer leaves for the day. Oh, it's a hat, right? It's the hat that the sorcerer wears. That's got some kind of magical power. So Mickey's job is to clean, but he doesn't want to clean, and he sees the hat that the sorcerer left behind, and so he's going to put the hat on his own head, and then he puts a command on a broom to like start sweeping, right? But then he gives the broom all kinds of things to do. No, it's actually in the Mickey Mouse version, he's supposed to get the water, get the pails of water. I don't know. The point is that once he starts the spell, he can't stop the spell. And so he tries to chop the broom in half, and it creates more brooms. So before long, there's just complete chaos. There's complete devastation, because even though the apprentice has seen the magician use magic and can somewhat do it, he doesn't have mastery, and he's using magic for his own agenda, when really he should be the one doing the work he's supposed to do. He's trying to get out of doing work. So there's this. And so anyway, the sorcerer comes back and sees what Mickey's done, or the apprentice has done, and cleans it up. Right. So I think that's really that to me, that was an important idea, that the mind watches the intuition do these things. And the longer you do it, the more the mind becomes familiar and thinks, oh, that I know how to do that. But actually the mind doesn't. The mind knows how to translate on behalf of the intuition, but the mind cannot on its own pull this off. And if the mind tries to, it will get caught in its own agenda. And you can tell when that's happening, because the mind gets very heavy suddenly. It gets very grumpy. It gets very judgy. Or even just becomes fixated. It becomes fixated on something. And that fixation doesn't have any levity or lightness or flow to it. In that, when the mind gets heavy or fixated, you know that it's now kind of a little bit lost. It needs to be reclaimed because if you leave it alone in that fixation, it can become more fixated, right? It can become more. So one example was in this documentary was they were talking about finding your soulmate or your twin flame or something like that. And they were telling people that they knew you can tell who your soulmate is. Like you meet the person, they're your person. And you need to pursue that even if the other person doesn't want to pursue that. Like you're right. You are right. You have the feelings, you do it, you chase it. And they actually talked about like people who were chasers and runners, which is stalking, right? They're telling them to stalk people. But the problem is these people were encouraging the mind to get more fixated, right? And the reason they were encouraging the mind to get fixated is because they're trying to get these people to buy in to my program to so I can make money. So there's an agenda. The leaders have an agenda, which is making money. And they're getting your mind to be fixated on this one very specific focus. And keeping, if you can stay fixated on this focus, your brain's not thinking about other things. It's not taking in new data, which is the person just ran away from me and they issued like a what is it called? Like not a warrant, but a protection. There's a word for that. Where you sign a oh, no, I can't think of the word. It's very easy. Anyway, to keep people away. Like you're saying this person's dangerous, like for stalkers, and the court issues you this document that says they have to stay away from you. They're actually violating court orders, and they're going after this person. And it's like the mind's so fixated, it's behaving completely illogically. And I think that can happen where the mind gets locked in. And I have clients. I don't have clients. I have people who reach out to me who have a very fixated idea of what they want to do. And I'm like, yeah, I think your mind's a little too like rigid right now. And you can't fight with them. Well, you cannot fight with a mind that's rigid and expect it to work. Because the more you fight with a mind that's rigid, the more it defends itself, right? So by the time my clients get to me, their minds have given up. Their minds are exhausted. They've tried this thing. They pursued whatever they've tried to pursue. It didn't work. And the mind's like, I don't know anymore. So it's when the mind is willing to give up and let something else happen. So you need the mind to agree to surrender, not be forced. We're not going to break the mind or push the mind, or we're going to wait for the mind to wear itself out, really. And that takes however long it takes in our lives. Our mind's going to try for a long time, right? And usually when I meet a client, I can tell if their mind's not quite ready to give up. We can still do some work, right? But there's places the mind's like, no, I'm doing this thing. And I'm like, okay. I mean, if you're absolutely set on doing this thing and you won't get new data, then that's going to be a spot we can't really, whatever is happening inside that little fixation, we can't do anything about it yet because your mind's guarding it, right? So there are limitations, right, to what we can do, but that's okay. There's always limitations. But I just think it's interesting how in this premise or in this system that they had set up, they're encouraging you not to do that. They're encouraging you to work, to push harder into the fixation rather than to kind of break free of it and realize it's not working. Restraining order. Thank you, Raspberry Moon. I could not come up with I know it's an easy word, right? You hear it all, the restraining order. Thank you. Hi, Jacqueline. All right, Jackie and Angel. Yeah, restraining order. Yeah, y'all both told me it was restraining order. Yeah. I'm almost 50 and just words just get away from me sometimes. I mean, normal words like basket and washcloth. So restraining order. So anyway, it was really interesting because watching this documentary, I got very concerned, right? Because my mind could do that. My mind recognizes that pattern. Like, yeah, if I get too into my own, not just confidence, my own agenda, if I get too caught on my own agenda, then I can start using whatever energy I've got and kind of twist it into serving something instead of serving kind of this flow, the flow of the universe. And if the flow of the universe takes this person away from me, that's okay. That's good. The flow of the universe knows what it's doing. It can be painful and sad. I want that person, but they don't want me. Then you agree to the flow of the universe, right? If the flow of the universe means I lose this job or I don't get this move or whatever it is, part of it is just saying, well, somehow this is serving me. And I don't have to understand it or see it yet to trust that. And I think that's so my mind kind of always, I'm always training my mind, or my mind's pretty good at it now. The mind gets good at things when you do it long enough, but so my mind's always very cautious about itself. Cause when I get very excited about doing something, my mind's like, okay, well, don't get too excited. Like, let's keep it light, keep it easy breezy. Like, don't become an egoist about this. My mind may be a little bit over careful, but I'm really nervous about, um, about my mind kind of grabbing an agenda and running with it because I have seen how harmful it can be. And I'm super cautious around that, which is probably also why I don't want to do tarot lessons, right? Because I don't want to be the one you listen. I don't want to be the one you listen to. I want to be offering my perspective and you offer your perspective, and like nobody's in charge. We're all just sort of collaborating. I like that a lot better than, oh, I have the answers, come to me, Anyway, so I got off on that because of the crow. The crow, that sort of crafty energy that's not only intuitive, but it's also problem solving. It's also engaged in the physical world. And this is the crow moon. That's what we're working towards. So I thought for this spread today, we would do a different spread. I might have done this one before, but I love the spread. It's basically a start, stop, continue spread. So if we are trying to kind of evoke our crow energy, which is that the combination of the ego and the intuition, then what are some action steps we can take? What are things we can do to support that? RV Joey, the crow is your spirit animal? Good spirit animal, right? I mean, they're all probably very good, but the crow is really fun. And the crow keeps showing up for me lately. I think the crow is in different places. I see the crow showing up. So it's a good animal. It's a great animal. So I'm just going to go ahead and I already shuffled my deck and cut it because, I say all the time that I drop my cards all the time. And someone told me, well, if you drop your card, then, that's the card jumping out at you. And I know that theory, but when you drop 30 of them, that's not true anymore. You're just clumsy. That's what it is. So I've already shuffled my cards, and Joey says that's me trying to visit you. So anyway, if you want to pull your own cards, you can. If you want to shuffle your deck, you can also use my cards. I think that whatever you feel called to do, the universe will work with you anyway. So I've already shuffled my cards and cut them. So I'm going to pull all 3 of my cards before I if you want to share your cards here, you can share them, but I'm going to pull all my 3 of mine so I'm not quite as scattered, because I feel like last time I'm learning how to do this as I go along. I think last time I just got sort of like confused and lost. So I'm going to Raspberry Moon. I'm a clumsy shark card shuffler as well. Yeah. I mean, I actually worked at it because the tarot course I took, she was talking about like getting good at your shuffle, because she said, yeah, you don't want to like drop your cards in front of a client. I'm like, yeah, you don't, but it doesn't matter. What happens is, for me, like I shuffle them. I don't shuffle them the way you do normal cards. I shuffle them like this. And I'm like, okay, I'm going to focus. I'm going to pay attention. And while I'm shuffling, every time my mind kind of wanders off and then I drop them. I mean, I just can't stay focused long enough to shuffle them properly. So anyway, okay, so I'm going to pull the 3 cards. The first one is it's start, stop. That's spread. Start, stop, continue, which means what should I start doing? What should I stop doing? And what should I continue doing? So that's the cards, the sequence of cards. And the focus is, so what are these things what can I start, stop, and continue that will help me kind of evoke this crow energy, this middle ground partnership between the intuition and the mind. So first card is, what can I start? Okay. That's the 3 of Pentacles reversed. If you can see it. Well, that feels like it's the same answer. Okay. So the 3 is about momentum. That's how I relate it to. And pentacles are the physical world. So what you're creating or doing in the physical world. And I mean, okay, the upright 3 of Pentacles is, I think it's about creating partnership. I think this youngster is building a cathedral, and these 2 like older architects are stopping to speak to him. And I think they're offering him advice and support. So when the card is upright, it tells us, Okay, I just got an idea. It tells us that we're creating something in the physical world, and we're going to need partners. So like be open to people who see what you're doing and say, "Wow, that's really cool. Can I help? Can I join in?" And like you want them, you want because the more people that if you're open to that, not just anyone, you're not asking people to come in and do it for you or to change your vision or to challenge your vision. It's people who see what you're doing and go, "Ooh, I want to play too." Like those are the people you want. So you want to be aware that what you're doing is cool and interesting. And there are people who are going to be drawn to that. Be aware of it and then be open to it when it comes, because that's the engaging in the momentum. Now, the reversal, I often say, is about partnership. It's about inward partnership. Like we're working together. So so we're going to start doing this. Okay. So what occurs to me is how do you help, and this would be like the mind and intuition working together. That's how I'd see it. And there's three here, right? So I always talk about how the arbiter or the guide between the mind and the intuition is the soul. So we've got three energies working together. So I thought, what could we continue in our lives or add into our lives that would help this partnership along? So, for example, journaling helps that process along. If you have a dream and you journal about it, that's the dream is kind of the intuitive move. Journaling, communication is the mind move, right? The mind's now interpreting it into language and writing it down. So the mind's job is to take the inspiration of the intuition and translate it into something that can be seen or experienced in the physical plane, or that can be understood in a new way. So this to me would be something that you're translating something from the spirit world or from the intuitive world into the physical world. And so that means doing something. So you have an idea, you start doing something. Actually, that's really a good idea, right? Because until you do something that the mind can interact with, it doesn't understand what you're talking about. I do this all the time with my husband. I'll say, "Oh, I really need," I always say, "I need something." And he'll say, "What do you need?" And I have to sit there and my mind struggles to communicate what my intuition wants, right? But I continue the struggle because I feel like it's important that the mind engage. And so the mind's like, "Do I need something to eat? Do I need to walk? Do I need a nap? Do I need to snuggle with my husband? Like, what is it I need?" And the mind will actually have to work it out, right? And then take action based on what it figures out. So it is kind of a nice thing to say, you notice that there's something your intuition is trying to say, and let your mind try to translate it. And then if it doesn't get it right, if the intuition goes, "Well, that's not quite it," it just keeps trying, keeps trying. My husband does that. He just lists all the food he can think of if I'm hungry, just hoping he'll get a hit. So start activities that actually, it's like helping them play together, the mind and intuition. Stop. Stop card. Stop. The Two of Wands reverse. Okay, that's funny. I think that's funny because the two is the germination card, like settling in, rooting in. Wands is about passion and energy and fire and feeling inspired. And this image is this guy standing on his front porch, and he's got a globe in his hand. He's looking out across the world like, oh, he's imagining. He's kind of letting his vitality, his passion grow in him. He's dreaming. He's getting excited. He's rooting into his dream and imagining going somewhere. He's not going anywhere yet. He's just imagining it, right? But we want to wait. Then the reversal would be stop the reversal. Oh, I just thought of it backwards. Okay. If it was upright, I would say stop doing the germination. Huh. Okay. The reversal, stop the reversal. Stop blocking? I don't know. Let me think about that one. It may come to me. Okay. Continue. Yeah, Two of Wands. I need to think about that one. Because when I first saw it, I was thinking it in an upright position. Stop. Start. Continue. Ah, Nine of Wands. Okay. So the Nine of Wands is that moment just before you cross your finish line and your transformation. And in the Wands trajectory, the 10 of Wands is the guy carrying the wands to the town. Like he's got his harvest, he's bringing it home, he's going to share it with other people. So he's finally evoked the blessing, right? The Nine of Wands is the pause. The nine is he is literally pausing. He's sitting there. He looks kind of tired, looks kind of exhausted. He actually has like a bandage on his head, like maybe he's been in some kind of fight, and he's sitting there and he's resting. And I think that is kind of the invitation of the nine. It is about resting and integrating and making sense of, almost like before you're telling your story for the last time, because at the 10 point, whatever you're doing belongs to the world now. It's over. You're releasing it. It goes into the world as blessing or as gift, or you're just releasing it. And you'll be moving on. So this is your last moment to like look at what you did, take stock of it, kind of bless what you've done, kind of honor your struggle, honor your faithfulness, whatever you're going to do, and say, yeah, I did it. Yay me. And cross the finish line, right? So we want to continue to tell our story that way. We want to continue to give ourselves credit, to acknowledge what we're doing. That's really, really helpful in developing the partnership between the intuition and the mind. The mind has to tell the story or it doesn't know the story. Okay. You can do all kinds of amazing, cool things. But if your mind's not somehow organizing it into a system of meaning, your mind doesn't know it happened. That sounds crazy. I know, but literally, I can talk with my clients and they'll say, oh, nothing really happened this month because I meet with them usually once a month. And they'll start telling something. I'm like, oh my gosh, that sounds like this. And they're like, oh, that did happen. Oh, yeah. As they're telling the story and I'm showing them, kind of repeating to them the story and kind of opening up the connections in the story and how their intuition was a flow and how amazing that was and how cool that was. They're going, oh, yes. I do see the story now. So the mind needs time and support. Usually you have to talk to another person. The mind typically doesn't just talk to itself. I mean, my mind does sometimes, but the mind needs to be able to talk things out loud in order to learn the story. And then once it learns the story, it then has a platform on which it can expect new magic. Like if the mind begins to tell a story about how genius you are and how magical you are and how, you can like with the tarot, you pull the card that it doesn't know how it works, but it always works. If the mind begins to learn that story, then the mind begins to align itself with the expectation that it's going to work. And the mind no longer fights with, is it going to work? Because now it's sort of expecting it to work because that's how the story is written. So this would suggest that we are already kind of making meaning of our passion and our calling. Continue to do that, right? Want to continue to do that. Okay. So now I'm going to go back to the Two of Wands because this is another Wands, right? The Two of Wands reversed. This is what you want to stop doing. Okay. This is germination, right? The Two is about giving yourself time to really enjoy the rooting in, get excited about your journey before you take any action. You're dreaming of the actions. You're letting yourself enjoy it, right? The reversal to me would be like, you're not giving blocking that. Almost like we're not giving ourselves time enough to settle into this new calling and we're moving too quickly, which I think I do that. I do that sometimes. I think it's a very typical thing in our world to kind of not understand how important it is to settle in. You can't take continuous action and expect it to always be integrated. It's not going to be integrated. Your mind's going to outpace your inspiration at some point. Okay, that's the connection. That's what I was saying earlier. Sometimes it works that way, where I was saying like the mind will get into its own agenda. That's where I see like healing work or coaching or whatever going wrong, is the mind has now outpaced the flow of the intuition. Because instead of doing this, instead of settling in and taking the time to integrate, to really understand the intuition, letting it surface its magic, the mind is now taking action steps aligned to what it thinks we need to do, or the world's telling it needs to do, or what it, whatever. It's now doing that because the intuition is not talking. The intuition is integrating. It's settling in, it's surfacing something new. You have to wait for that. If you don't wait for that, you will run off half cocked and do other things. And then depending on how well your mind kind of catches itself or how well you can catch it, it can do that for a long time. So stop interrupting the germination. Stop interrupting the germination. Okay. That's how I would read that then. That was a challenge for me. Okay. So I'm going to go back and see if any of you, if you pulled your spreads, feel free. If you want to share them here, you can. And we can see what comes up. Okay. So Patty said her first is Nine of Cups. Nine of Cups is first card. So that's the start. So to me, like I said with this one, that would be about taking the time to like look at how much blessing you brought into your life, how much connection you have. And that can be tricky because because the mind tends to, and also not just well, it is the mind, but it's not just the mind. It's also that especially if you're a creative, we tend to uh kind of focus on what we haven't accomplished yet, and which is okay. I mean, that makes sense because we're like, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? Most of us have so many things we want to do that as soon as we finish one thing, we're kind of moving to the next thing. So the Nine of Cups is like, take a minute, just a minute. You don't got to spend weeks doing this. Take a minute to like, sit in that room full of cups, that room full of blessing and beauty, and just go, man, I am so rich. It is about kind of cultivating gratitude. So as you cultivate gratitude, you're also getting your mind to realize, because when we're constantly moving forward, even if it's creative, we're like, yeah, let's do this and this and this. It's very easy for the mind to say, oh my gosh, we're not accomplishing anything because we just keep running from one thing to the next. So the mind's never getting a chance to go, wow, look what we did there. Look what we did there. It's never getting a chance to sort of finish its work and like feel like we graduated. Oh, we did that book. We graduated. Yay, us. Now we're going to move on. If you don't give the mind a chance to integrate the message once again, it doesn't integrate the message and it feels like it never got anything done. It's funny because this has been a long time ago, but I had to put a resume together. It's been like 7 or 8 years ago. I'm not employable any longer. This is when I was still employable. But I put together a resume and it was funny because I went through and I listed all my experience and I was like, man, I've done a lot of stuff. And my mind was like, man, we've done a lot of things, haven't we? It's so funny because I'm like, I never laying it out like that was good because my mind said, we have really lived kind of an interesting life. We've had a lot of experience. We've had a lot of good, so that's how I read the Nine Cups. Start doing that kind of more intentionally, maybe. That one way to read that. Okay. So Alan says Knight of Pentacles reverse to start, Nine of Pentacles to stop. Okay. So Knight of Pentacles reversed. The Knight is kind of the farmer. Knight is action taking. The Knight is the farmer energy. Very lovely energy. It's about kind of taking your time step by step, doing your work, tilling the ground, right? That Knight is a very steady Knight, but it can also be like a rigid Knight. Like not rigid, well, it can be rigid, but it's like getting stuck in a rut, right? Like so it can be limiting because you're just sort of you're in a pattern, this pattern's continuing. Maybe the pattern isn't matching. Patterns usually are when we're in a pattern, it's the mind has usually created a pattern. You've repeated it enough that now we're in a pattern. Maybe the intuition would like to change that pattern up. So we want to start like breaking out of the pattern enough so new things can happen. That may be one way of seeing that as a start card. Nine of Pentacles as a stop. Nine of Pentacles. That's the lady in the Rider-Waite. That's the lady in the garden who's like, oh, look at my beautiful garden. And so as a stop card, the challenge of the nine is that you can get caught there, which is like, and all of these are like the Nine of Wands. Well, the Nine of Wands is a little bit tired. He's kind of tired, but the Nine of Cups and the Nine of Pentacles are kind of lovely cards. Like, look at this amazing thing. Look what I've done. I'm really, really awesome. That's great. But the challenge there is that you're not finished yet. So don't just sit in your room with your cups and go, I'm done, and the mind sometimes traps us in that last step because if you don't complete the journey, you don't have to learn something new, right? Because what happens in the 10 point, you finish your journey, you go back to the one, you go back to a seed, which means you have to learn something totally new or try something totally new. And the mind can get nervous around that. So I feel like there's somewhere I read this, that the most dangerous is the wrong word, but like the part of the journey, the most trepidatious, that's not even a word, part of the work is the last 3%. It's when you get so close to the finish line and you suddenly bug out because the mind goes, I don't know what's going to happen if I cross that finish line. So like, go ahead, go past it, go past the finish line. That's how I'd read the Nine of stopping the Nine of Pentacles. Or if you're pausing yourself right there before you publish the book, you get thing in the world, you've got it already. Oh, it's so much magic, so much beauty. It's like, yeah, but I don't want to like put it in the world. I don't want to make it wealth I'm not going to offer it to others. That may be the stop point. That's when we read it. And then Alice is an Ace of Pentacles reversed as continue. So the Ace of Pentacles, of course, is the beginning point, right? The reversal of that to me would be like, continue to do what you're doing. Because the Ace is like, we're starting something new, right? Don't start something new. And actually, that can be what happens with the Knight of Pentacles is like, oh, we're going to go back and do the thing again. We're going to keep working on this thing instead of saying, we're going to do the thing. We're going to finish the thing. So the Ace of Pentacles, or even like distracting yourself by doing something new inside of the same trajectory. Like if I wrote a book, well, I'm going to add like art to the book, or, the book is done, but I'm going to like do something. I'm going to add something else into it. I'm going to learn something new to add to it instead of saying, no, you already planted the seed. It's already taken its shape, finish. Stick to trust what you've already planted, get it in the world and let it go. Let it be what it's supposed to be. I don't know if that makes sense, but that may be the way to read that. Let's see. Divine loves the divine tree of love. The struggle is real. The struggle is real, but I think it's fun. It's fun. I mean, it can be. It's better than being stuck. It's better to struggle than to be stuck. For some of us don't mind being stuck, but some of us, I'd rather struggle than get stuck. Okay, so on a rose beam, moon reverse for first. That would be start. Moon reverse. So when I see the moon reverse, so the moon is kind of the invitation to bring light into shadow. Like there's underground stuff, like old parts of ourselves have been exiled and buried. And the moon's like, you exhume them, you bring to the world, right? The challenge of moon, I think moon's great, but the challenge of it is that when you do spiritual work a lot, you can begin to think, there's always something wrong with you that you have to exhume and dig up. Like, I got to dig up my trauma. There's sort of this idea we start getting really caught and the idea that we are really broken in like multiple ways. And the reversal of the moon is like, don't worry about it. Don't just go on, do your thing. Like because after the moon, you go into sun, right? So the moon reversal is like, just go in the sun, like enjoy your life, be happy, be bold, do things you love, be exhilarated. Like, don't get caught in the trap that says, something's wrong with you all the time. We have to constantly like dig through the soil of your subconscious to find it. The truth is, when something is ready to be exhumed, it tells you, right? That's what happens all the time with my clients. They're like, I was just bebopping along and suddenly I had this moment and I got really upset. I'm like, oh, there you go. It announced itself. The healing announced itself. You don't got to go looking for it. It will find you. So maybe the start there, actually, the moon reverse is go into the sun, like start really celebrating your life, being alive and letting yourself enjoy the vitality of that. I love moon reverse for that reason. So Angela says, I love seeing your process. Yeah, it's quick and dirty, isn't it? Lisa, I don't know if it's Lisa or Liza. Hi, but hi. Magician. So RV Joey says, magician, fool, and queen of swords. So start the magician, start evoking magic. You are the sorcerer, as I'm talking about the sorcerer and his apprentice. You're the actual sorcerer. So start thinking, what do I want? What do I want to create? What am I missing? What would be fun? What would be interesting? And sort of being intentional about asking the question of what you want to evoke. And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean what's the manifestation going to look like. That's where the mind can get stuck. Like, well, I want to evoke $1 million. That's not really, I'm not saying you can't do that. I'm saying that money is just a tool. So you're evoking a tool, but the evocation is the tool. Like, what do you really want? Do you want more freedom? Do you want more joy? Do you want more magic? Do you want more connection? Like, what is it that would feel yummy? That's what the magician. So it's not so much, because the reason we want money is we think it'll make us feel better, which it won't. Not the money won't make you feel better, right? So it's like, that's what you want to evoke. So maybe start like really taking seriously your own evocative powers in the magician. Fool, you got the fool. So stop being the fool. Oh, that's interesting, right? Because the fool's a great card, right? It's all about being childlike faith and like throwing yourself into the universe and following your bliss. It's a good card. The challenge of the fool is that it really doesn't know how to function in the physical world. And so you can't just be the fool, right? That's almost like we're gaslighting ourselves that we're not even going to think about money. We're not going to think about money. We're not going to think about processes. We're just going to like trip along and be happy. I actually had a client who I finally figured out she was flipping from the mind to the fool, And I'm like, oh, no wonder you're confused, right? Because she was like, I'm just going to trust the universe. And I'm like, that's good. but that works itself out in some kind of way. So it's about learning how to bring them together. So the Fool by itself ends up being non-functional in the world. So you might look at like, where are you sort of not looking at the world or not engaging the world because your mind doesn't know how to solve it yet. Well, we'll figure it out. We'll solve it together. And that the Magician and the Fool together in those positions could be really interesting. I want to evoke this, and I'm going to start facing the thing that I've been avoiding because it doesn't seem fun, that kind of thing. Queen of Swords. So continue the Queen of Swords. That would suggest that your mind is already kind of cleaning itself out, cutting off old mindsets. Just keep at it. Like wherever you get stuck, have that queen come in and like, yeah, don't need that. Don't need that. The Queen of Swords really is about freeing the mind up and getting it in good shape. So that would tell me you're already doing that. Like keep that mind looking at where it gets stuck and keep cleaning it out. Patty says, stop, Seven of Wands, and continue Queen of Cups. So Seven of Wands. Oh, that's in the Rider-Waite. That's the guy doing that. He's like standing his ground, like, yeah. So Seven's about making a choice, like choosing your path. But the Wands card, the Wands 7 is a little it's a little defensive. Like he looks like he's ready to take on somebody on. Like I'm going to defend my ground. So when I see the Seven of Wands, I think of it as like I'm kind of bracing myself to receive opposition, right? So like I'm making my choice, but I expect somehow someone's going to challenge my choice or try to push me off my choice, and so I'm preparing to fight. Which I always think is problematic because if you're inviting a fight when you do that instead of saying, "Oh, I expect the universe to support me and to so kind of like that's how I would see like stopping. Like if you feel like you're expecting the universe to push against you or people are going to challenge you, like trying to get your mind to stop thinking about. Let's not worry about those people. Let's really look for where we're getting support and cooperation. So it is about again training your mind to look for something. We don't want your mind to look for the bear. Unless your mind's going to be survival mode, if you want your mind to be expansive, it has to look for the support, for the cheerleaders, for how things are flowing in your favor. And we want the mind to start really honing in on that and not looking for bear. That may be the way to read the Seven of Wands and continue Queen of Cups. Of course, the Queen of Cups is just this loving energy that's just all about like transforming emotional connection. She sits on the seashore and she invites you to come to her, and she alchemizes emotion into like gems and beauty. And this is idea of very deep like spiritual healing and emotional healing. So the Queen of Cups, a lot of my clients connect to the Queen of Cups. I think she's a very strong healing energy. So that suggests to me you're already kind of offering this gift in the world, and like keep doing that. Like even going maybe deepening into that. And especially with the Seven of Wands, Queen of Cups combination in that connection, like the less energy you put into defending yourself, the more you can put into being the queen. And that the queen energy just is a lot more fun to invest in, I think. Okay. So on a Rosebeam, Knight of Swords reverse for stop. So yeah, this Knight Swords is about the mind. Knight is action. And that Knight of Swords, he's like, he's charging across the field. He's a very like big energy. And the reversal of that Knight, I feel, is kind of like, it's like the mind, like getting tangled up in its own thought process. Like, what should I do? Should I do this? Should I do this? Like almost like it's working too hard to think of something. And like, so for a stop, like telling the mind, shh, don't try to figure it out. Just be quiet. And actually that connects also to what we've been saying, but also my spread is like, quit trying to solve it. Quit trying to solve it. Just sit still. The answer is going to come. The intuition's brewing something up, right? Just brewing up the good stuff. Just sit and rest. So that would be like helping. How can you help your mind like stop trying to figure it out? Just be still and wait, and offering whatever support you need to help your mind quit putting energy into this, because it can't solve it this way. That may be the way of reading that. Let's see. I lost it. And on a Rosebeam, Five of Wands reverse for continue. Five of Wands reverse. Ooh, okay. I always have to like evoke in my head what it looks like. So the Five of Wands is the 5 guys in the Rider-Waite that are like sparring together with their wands. They're like, yeah, they're going at it. And it can look like they're fighting, but I think they're sparring. They're like having this tournament where they're kind of evoking their passion and their energy and their vitality. And because they're doing it together, they're like raising the bar for each other. They're getting better. They're getting stronger. And that's a 5. The 5 is the challenge. So it's almost like you're rising to the challenge, and your partners, these are your partners in bringing you up into the challenge. And the reversal of that would be like, you're letting yourself spar internally. Like you're letting yourself do hard things and even leaning harder into your faith, letting things get stronger and bigger. So we're actually, and the reason it's a challenge point is because you are engaging wands, which is about passion and fire. And the mind does get a little nervous around that energy because it's really loud. It's very big. It might seem a little dangerous. So you're asking your mind to like stand back and let this sort of uncensored passion flow because you're evoking something new. So it is again about managing the mind, helping the mind stay calm and know this is not dangerous energy. This is good, like strong fire energy. And it's going towards something. And we don't want to interfere with it. We want to kind of stay calm and let it work itself out. Okay. That'd be my read of that. And Queen Iolise, Page of Wands and Knight of Wands reverse. So are those the first two, I guess? Oh no. Page of Wands, if that's your start card, that'd be like follow your passion. Like, what is the thing that's getting you turned on? What's getting you excited? Like looking for it and going, yeah, I'm going to start. Because the page is like the young energy that's like, I'm ready to go do something. So kind of live in your youthfulness, live in your excitement and the possibilities, and like look out for it. Like what's making you excited? So start to like take that seriously. It's so interesting to me. I guess it's not. I think it's predictable probably that we don't really ever like ask ourselves. We're not taught to ask ourselves like what would give you joy, except in a very limited way. Like we're like, oh, well, follow your bliss, but people don't really mean that. Like, or they don't know what they're saying when they say that. They're like, well, follow your bliss, but be realistic. And really, the message is you can think about fun things and maybe do them on the side, but your life should really be about working hard and doing the right thing and being logical instead of trusting that there is a purpose to your passion. So because we're not really encouraged to value passion, our minds don't learn to look for it. And so the Page of Wands is like specifically, connecting to passion and agreeing to that. So that may be something to start. And the Knight of Wands reversed, so that start, stop, Knight of Wands reversed. Okay, that makes sense because that's like the Knight of Wands reverse is like almost like we're stopping the knight from moving forward. We're blocking that. Knight is the energy that moves forward, that does things in the world. The reversal could say that the knight's not being empowered to like move forward. So if there is like the page is like the part of us that's like looking for cool things, the knight's the part of us that does the cool things. So those work together in the start and stop. Like start letting your page surface, stop letting your knight get blocked. How can you release the knight so you can start actually following your passion? Maybe. All right. So RB Joey says that worked for that reiteration worked for you. Well, good. You never know, right? Angela. So she says start is hers is the star is the start. So the star shows up when you've had an expansion. You've been through the tower, something fell apart, and you sort of blossomed into this new thing. So you want to help yourself come back into your body almost. That's the tower can be kind of traumatic. The stars like settle down, like let yourself be rejuvenated, help let the starlight fall on your naked body and bring all your chakras back in balance. And also like feel where you've expanded. So it's about kind of settling into your new body. So if you've been through a kind of a transition, like this is an integration point. We're not taking action here. I say it all the time. You can't do things with you can't sustain the spiritual journey with constant movement. You have to rest. The star is an integration point where you're settling into your new body. So start settling into your new body. It means you're getting everything reattached, getting everything connected back together. Stopped the reversed Ace of Swords. So Ace of Swords would be the beginning of like your mind starting something new, and the reversal. So stop the reversal. Reversal of the Ace. Let me come back to that. Because it's almost like I'm having the same problem I had with the Two of Wands reverse when I pulled it. Okay, let me go to the next one. Okay. Stop. Okay. And continue Knight of Cups. Knight of Cups is about being in flow. And like that lover knight that's like, yes, I'm singing poetry and looking for my lady love. And that Knight of Cups, he's taking action from an uncensored heart. So it's almost like you're already kind of expressing your heart in a way that's in the world. Like keep doing it. Go further. Like whatever you've been holding back, go further. And actually you see the star is like you've expanded. What you did before was cool, but you've actually expanded. More stuff's coming online, right? So now we go back to the Ace of Swords. Ace of Swords reversed. Okay. Would be the blocking of something new in your mind. So swords about the mind, right? So the mind wants to learn something. The mind's being encouraged to try something new. The reversal of the ace would be like, something is stopping me from moving. My mind does not want to learn something new or is afraid of learning something new. So there may be something to look at, like stopping the stopping of the mind. How can we free the mind up to try something new? And it may really just be that you haven't given the mind instruction yet, because that happens so much. Like you got this, the intuition's having this big renaissance and everything's flowing. The mind's like, what do you want me to do? And we don't really, the mind's like, do I have something to do here? So it could really just be about, what does the mind need to learn? What do you want the mind to study or to kind of grasp hold of? What can the mind do to be partnered with this? And just realizing that that is something that the mind does need to be part of it. And actually the mind can help. Like the crow is about problem solving, right? The mind can help. It can help problem solve. So what can we give the mind that it can start to gain mastery in something? That may be one way to read that. All right. All right. Let me see if there's anything else. All right. Oh, Wex Luthor. I'm guessing it's like Lex Luthor, but, or maybe mispronouncing it. So yours is three. So start 3 of Wands, which is about 3 of Wands is it's momentum. 3 is high momentum. Wands is passion, energy, and the image in the Rider Waite is the guy at the seashore watching his ships come in. So start looking for your ships to come in. You're in flow. You're in passion. The universe sees that, feels that, and is responding. So you're kind of noticing how the universe is advocating for you, and you're responding to that, watching for it, and agreeing to that. So letting yourself be supported. Start with that. Stop with the Hermit. That means I love the Hermit. Okay, and it's a great card, but the Hermit. The purpose of the Hermit is to kind of separate from the world, go into your cave, surface your gift, and then come back, right? The Hermit does not live in the cave forever, at least not my Hermit. My Hermit goes into the cave to bring the gift and comes to the world, returns to the world kind of fully loaded with the gift. So if you're stopping the Hermit, it might say like, stop contemplating in your room, like go. The universe, 3 of Wands, universe is sending you ships, go out there and meet them. Don't hang out in your room anymore, or like do your meditations, like go be in the world and do the thing, maybe. And then continue the Page of Pentacles. The Page is that young student that's like, yeah, I'm ready to learn. And Pentacles are about the physical world. So the Page is, he's going to learn a hobby. He's going to apprentice something. He's going to figure out how to make this happen. So the Page is like that energy that's always like negotiating the physical world, right? So there's a lot of energy here about like getting into the world. You're in the world. The universe hears you. Start like kind of resist the urge to hide and come out of hiding. Actually, the tarot story this week is a lot about that too. So, all right. So, hi, Patricia. yeah, we're. I know. I just scheduled this like an hour ago or 2 hours ago because I didn't realize this was the new moon. But anyway, anything else coming up? If not, I will close for now. And of course, if you rewatch this, you can check in then. You can let me know. So this last time we met on the the full moon, I talked about how I was going to like try to share on the 3 cards that I pulled. And I did 2 of them this time. I didn't do all 3. I'm going to try it again. So we got the start, the stop, and the start, stop, continue. So if I'm going to try to like kind of spend my own time working with these cards and like share how they're opening up for me. So my start was the 3 of Pentacles reversed. My stop was the 2 of Wands reversed. And my continue was the 9 of Wands, right? So I'm going to spend some time seeing how they work in my life, and I'll share that with you. And please feel free as you're working through your spreads to share those. Like if you feel like, yeah, this is my start card. This is how it opened, or, so we can have a conversation. That would be fun. All right. All right. So I guess I'm going to close for now. You guys have a great couple of weeks. I'll probably get on in another week and do my last numerology spread, numerology live stream. So you can watch for that. But other than that, I'll see you at the Crow Moon. Bye, guys.